Hello, everyone. Welcome to Court with Krissy. This baby daddy's last name, it suits him. I hope you like it. Court with Krissy is now in session.
Okay, they're at the jail. Sir, are you Tyler Hassel?
Sure am, Your Honor.
Okay, so we'll go on the record now. This is Hassel versus Bergman. This is file number 1716873 DC. The record should reflect that Mr. Hassel is present today by video from the Otsego County Jail. We have Ms. Krause present on behalf of friend of the court. Looks like Ms. Bergman's also present by Zoom. Mr. Hassel, you're before the court today for an arraignment on a bench warrant regarding the failure to pay child support. Do you understand why you're before the court today?
Well, actually, Your Honor, I'd like to correct you so that for legal purposes, I'm actually have a warrant for failure to appear. A year ago, I missed the court date. I called front of the court and I notified them that I made an honest mistake and I got my dates mixed up, and that I asked if we could reschedule the court date. They proceeded to try to extort me for money and tell me that if I gave them $3,000, they would drop the warrant. I told them I didn't have $3,000. So I was forced to take it to a higher level to have everything investigated. I actually am not being, my warrant is not for failure to pay child support. My warrant was for missing a court date.
That's correct. And the purpose of that court date was an allegation that you had failed to pay child support and that you did fail to appear for that show cause hearing on November 4th. So yes, the bench warrant was for your failure to appear at that November hearing. And that hearing was, you were ordered to appear for that hearing to show cause why you hadn't paid child support.
You guys were actually garnishing my paycheck and cost me my job. You guys came to my work and harassed me and got me fired.
Okay.
While you were garnishing my paychecks.
Okay. Ms. Krause, where does this file stand now since this warrant was issued over a year ago? Can you tell me where things stand right now?
Yes, the plaintiff support obligation is $883. The arrears balance currently on this specific case is $33,302.56. There is no order addressing overdue support. Since the bench warrant had issued, payments in the amount of $2,732.81 had been received. A breakdown of those payments was from December of 2024, $1,133.90 was received in December of 24, $895.34 was received in January of 25, $572 was received in February of 25, and then March, $131.57. Those payments then stopped. A non-voluntary payment was received in August of 25 in the amount of $125.69.
Okay, and so how did the friend of the court want to proceed today?
Friend of the court would request a hearing to address the issue of contempt as identified in previous orders and for the time period since the bench warrant issued. Okay.
All right. So Mr. Hassel, I'm not going to impose any additional penalties on your failure to appear at that November 4th hearing. But essentially what we're going to go forward with today then is this issue of non-payment of support. So you're, Ms. Krause, you're asking for a finding of the contempt for non-payment of support. Is that what friend of the court's position is at this point?
Yes.
Okay. Has Mr. Hassel been found in contempt previously?
He has not. This would be the first finding, which could be subject to up to 45-day commitment to jail.
Okay. All right, so Mr. Hassel, the proceeding here today is for contempt for your failure to pay child support as ordered by the court. You can either admit responsibility for failing to pay support, or you can deny responsibility, in which case the court will proceed here with the hearing today. The maximum penalty you could face, because this would be your first finding of contempt, would be up to 45 days in jail. Do you understand that?
I do understand that I was illegally silenced. You guys put a paper in the mail, and I do know that this is being watched right now by a higher power. So they see everything that's being done to me illegally. And I do understand that you guys cut my communication. You told me I'm not allowed to call you. You said I'm not allowed to contact you. I'm not allowed to come on your property. Therefore, how am I supposed to address an issue? My father passed away 2 months ago. I've had a hard year. You guys cost me my amazing job. I had an amazing job. And my job got tampered because you guys were harassing me, coming to all of my boss's properties and houses and everything else. And I feel that what's being done to me is entrapment, because on a recorded line, I called immediately the next day. If I purposely missed court, I would not have notified you the next day to let you know that I made an honest mistake, that I read my paper wrong, and that I was hoping that we could reschedule it and resolve the issue. And then, the matter of fact, that court date was because I was ordered to find a job, and it was a follow-up for me to show you that my job history and everything else. And I made an honest mistake, and I've seen my kids last year. Legally, you guys have not enforced a single order. You've basically told Michaela Bergman that she can do whatever she wants and not have to follow the order. She doesn't have to do anything. I seen my kids for less than 30 hours last year. Not one time. I tried to notify you guys over a year ago that my supervisors were not working, that they got new jobs and they had new family issues. You guys continued to ignore when I notified you and let you know that the supervisors weren't working. Therefore, me and my children have been put through psychological abuse for an entire year, because we have no contact, because you're putting my children in the care of somebody that has been told that she doesn't have to follow court orders, that she can do whatever she wants. And that's not how a court order works. As a matter of fact, she had 37 parenting time violations, and you guys turned around and threw them out like it's no big deal. I am very well aware that you guys have violated your own state laws, and you violated the federal laws in the court of my case. And I am very well aware that you guys have stepped on almost every single one of my constitutional rights that are possible, amongst many other people are aware. My case has been handled illegally from day one all the way back to the first, and I'm a victim of judicial abuse, and it will come to a light.
Okay. Are you contesting that you have failed to pay child support as ordered by the court or not?
Actually, I'm not contesting that I have failed to pay child support, because you guys are saying that I did, but you guys, I have papers, and so
Thank you. I'm
people.
gonna mute you at this point because I need to go forward with the hearing here. So, Mr. Hassel, based on your admission here on the record today that you have knowingly failed to pay child support, the court finds that you are in contempt. The court will order that you serve 45 days in the Otsego County Jail. Ms. Krause, is there any credit for time served? Do you know when Mr. Hassel was arrested on this warrant?
Based on the information I received, it appears that the paperwork was sent here approximately 11 o'clock this morning, so I believe earlier today.
Okay, so I'll grant 1 day credit. And Ms. Krause, as of November 4th, the purge amount was the $5,890 plus $100 court costs. Would that still be the purge amount for Mr. Hassel to be released?
Well, based on it's been almost 13 months, would it be appropriate for me to input that amount, if you wouldn't mind?
Yes. While we're waiting for that, I do want to state for the record that I'm muting Mr. Hassel. We've got a well-documented history of Mr. Hassel making unfounded claims, such as he's made here on the record today, of harassing court staff, which is why the court did issue an order preventing him from having certain types of contact. That order is a matter of public record. Mr. Hassel was given a copy of that. Every hearing has been a matter of public record. And so the court number one, disagrees that Mr. Hassel's rights have in any way been violated or the court hasn't followed appropriate procedures. To the extent that he feels that the court hasn't, he's fully within his rights to challenge any one of those things. Again, everything's either on the record, transcripts can be made or documented. Mr. Hassel, other than making these kind of claims, has not done anything to in any way challenge any of the orders or actions of the court, other than making the kind of claims that he's made. I'm muting him specifically because number one, I need to be able to conduct this hearing, and I don't think he'll stop talking long enough for me to do that. And number two, I think he's doing that for the sole purpose of trying to disrupt this hearing. So anyway, I need to make a record of that since I allowed him to make his record. Ms. Kraus, the purge amount.
The purge amount based on the current arrears balance would be $8,325 plus an additional $100 in court costs.
Okay, so the court is going to order that Mr. Hassel be remanded for a period of 45 days. He can be released at any time upon payment of that amount, as stated by Ms. Kraus. And then Ms. Kraus, how did you want to proceed going forward?
Upon his release, we could potentially, well, he could contact our office in writing and request that he indicate any type of employment. As we have done, because there is records of phone, or I'm sorry, not phone, email and letter communications from him in regards to that, but we would just monitor things upon his release and then set it appropriately upon his release after that date in front of the referee.
Okay, and then I'm just going to ask that you send another copy of the order that was issued regarding the type of contacts that Mr. Hassel can have with front of the court in light of his previous harassing conduct, just so that he's got another copy of that so that he can be aware of what he's allowed to do and what he's not allowed to do.
Okay.
All right, we're back on the record. Mr. Hassel, can you hear me?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, all right, we're back on the record in Hassel versus Bergman. This is file number 1716873. Having had a chance to go through the file following our previous record earlier this afternoon, Ms. Kraus, there's something that I noticed that I didn't discuss fully, and I'd like to get your recitation on it. So at the time of the show cause that Mr. Hassel failed to appear for on November 4th of 2024, can you tell me, and I know that you calculated since then, but can you tell me the circumstances that led to the filing of that show cause at that time? And if you need a minute to do that, I realize I'm asking you to do this on the fly.
Well, it's a backstory of it. So initially, the November 4th hearing was backed from an adjourn to an adjourn, from an adjourn back all the way back to July 1st from a previous bench warrant where bond was reduced to $500 and then he was able to be released. So I could touch base on each of those if that's helpful.
Yes, yep, that's exactly.
Okay, so yes. So bear with me while I get into context of where that information is. So on July 1st of 2024, there was an arraignment hearing. The plaintiff was to appear again on August 5th of 24 for contempt hearing, and the cash performance bond was reduced to $500, and then he may be released. At the August 5th hearing, it was then adjourned as the plaintiff filed a support motion to be heard in front of the referee on August 28th. And then the plaintiff was to comply and submit job searches and anything else that was requested by the friend of the court. On August 28th, in front of the referee, the plaintiff's motion was called regarding support. That hearing was dismissed due to the non-appearance of both parties. So the uniform support order that was dated from November of 2023 is still the current order. And then the hearing in front of Your Honor on September 3rd was adjourned to October 7th. He was to continue to submit job searches, and the court would address other options for moving forward if the plaintiff has not obtained employment by that next hearing. And then the October 7th hearing was adjourned in advance due to a scheduling conflict with the plaintiff, and that all other prior support enforcement provisions remained. At that November 4th hearing is where the plaintiff failed to appear. He had not remained in contact with our office. The bench warrant had issued. Then an ex parte was submitted to the court in regards to the communication that was signed on January 15th. So the employer that income withholding was being collected from was not reported by the plaintiff, and that was discussed at a prior call leading up to the non-communication ex parte that was filed.
Okay, and then subsequent to the November show cause hearing and bench warrant, there were some payments made, as you had previously indicated earlier today on the record.
They didn't, sorry.
No, go ahead. Correct me if I'm wrong.
The payments didn't start until December of 24, so there had been no payments received in November.
Okay. And then following that, there were a number of payments made, but not up to the full monthly obligation.
2 months were December of 24, the amount of $1,133.90 was received by an income withholding. And then January of 25, $895.34 was received. And his current obligation is $883.
Okay. All right. And then the remainder of payments that were received in 25 were either partial or involuntary payments.
Correct.
What was the nature of the involuntary payments?
From some sort of tax being withheld.
Okay.
And then,
right. No, go ahead.
And then in regards to Michigan quarterly wages for 2025, it was reported that an income of $30,466.27 was received by the plaintiff for 2024.
All right. So, Mr. Hassel, I guess my question is this. I mean, your statements earlier were that you weren't able to see your children. I mean, what is your basis for not paying child support in this case? Why have you not been paying?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm not making up an excuse, but I came to court and you guys put an order in effect 2 years ago, and that order has not been followed one single time. Ms. Bergman seems to think that because you threw all of her parenting time violations out, that she is now invincible and she doesn't have to whatever. And I tried to let you guys know that my sister, who's the supervisor for years, and legally you guys are supposed to offer me a reunification plan with my kids. In 5 years, you have never told me what I have done or why I can't see my kids. I don't even have a felony. I have one misdemeanor in my entire life, and I'm 33 years old. But right now, Josh Graham, who's a drug addict with 50 felonies, is allowed to be around my kid every single day. He hangs out with my kids. My kids are telling me he has guns and he's a felon. The last time I seen my son, he told me that Josh has guns and he rides on motorcycles and everything else. He just got out of prison a year ago. How does he have guns? And why is my 9-year-old son telling me these things? And I know I'm getting off topic, and I'm not, but Your Honor, I lost my job, and my boss is here to bat this war that I had to let go. And then when I got let go, I tried to collect unemployment like I was instructed to do by my boss, because I was working I was making good money. You guys were taking, he's here to witness, B&B Construction out of Gaylord was my boss. And for months, you guys were garnishing my checks. To the point where I was making $100 a week, and I was supposed to live on that and still try to be a dad and still be part of my kids' lives and do due diligent things to be part of my children's lives. And at this point, I feel that I'm being done very dirty because I've made an honest effort. If you sit back and look at all the money that I've been forced to do, and then immediately after me missing this court date, if I purposely missed this court date, I wouldn't have called you guys on a recorded line the next day instructing that I made an honest mistake and I honestly missed the court. It was not intentional. I just got out of jail. Why would I want to come to jail again? It was not intentional. And I immediately got a job. I called and I let you guys know. And I said, I have the recorded phone call with the lady that I spoke to right after, before this court date or whatever. And I instructed to the lady, I said, I got a new job. And I said, I'm calling to let you guys know that I made an honest mistake and that I want to do this so that it doesn't affect me and my family. And all they did was tell me, well, if you give us $3,000, then maybe we'll drop the warrant. Well, court wasn't for failure to pay. My court date that I missed was because it was for us to discuss my job and everything. I was instructed to let you know at that court date about my new job, which I had every intention of doing. But my boss I was working 60 hours a week and getting $400 a month to live on. And that's not fair. And he agreed. And he said that it was best that we part ways because your guys' local officers were coming to his jobs. However they were looking, they were harassing him, walking into his clients' houses, trying to serve me papers and everything. And I mean, I'm a good person, whether you guys believe it or not. I've spent 33 years of my life staying out of trouble. And just because somebody has made a ridiculous list of accusations on me does not mean that I am who they say. I'm dealing with a very bitter mother of my children. And you guys don't have to believe me, but Ms. Bergman does not make any effort for me to be part of my kid's life. She ignores my phone calls 24/7. She answers when it's her discretion. She doesn't feel that she has to follow any kind of order, and she hasn't had a consequence one single time. She had 37 violations in a row, and you guys signed the papers and agreed that she was guilty, and then turned around and threw them all out. So now she thinks that because she got away with all that stuff, that she just is free and she doesn't have to do anything that the order says. I literally don't even, my daughter's birthday is on the 13th of this month, and my birthday's on the 25th. And my kids beg to see me. They ask me why I can't see them, and all I can say is, I don't know. I don't have a supervisor. I'm sorry. And legally, you guys should have told me what I have to do to see my kids again. Not one time has anybody told me a reunification plan to be part of my children's lives. In 5 years, I've been kept out of my children's lives and alienated. And I love my kids with everything that I am, whether you guys believe it or not. I spend every single day wishing and begging to see them. And I got to see them for 30 hours last year. 30 hours an entire year. I can't keep a job because you guys garnish it to the point where I have a $100 paycheck. And who drives an hour in every direction to go to work in a truck to live on $100? How can I? And then not only did you guys cost me this job, a year prior before me going to jail, a year prior, you guys cost me my job at Cooper Standard. I had an amazing job. You guys were garnishing my check for over 4 months, taking every single penny and leaving me a couple $100. And I keep trying to tell you guys that you're taking too much money and I can't afford that. And I don't know where you guys think that I'm rich, but I live in a little tiny trailer. I'm broke as a joke because of these situations. I've hired 2 lawyers. I've dropped over $7,000 or $8,000 to defend myself. And I have every right to try to, and if I didn't love or care about my kids, I wouldn't be here fighting and trying to be part of their lives. And I'm not asking you to hear my sob story, but what's being done to me right now is very, very evil. And my kids tell me that imagine your kid calling you and saying, Dad, when can we see you? And all I can say is, I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't have a supervisor. My sister has a job, and me and my kid's mom, we parted ways because of this corruption, all the stuff that I'm going. And I see my other son on a regular. How is it that I can see my other son with the other mom who says I'm an amazing father, but this mother says I'm a horrible father, and I take my 2-year-old every single week for 5 days at a time, off and on. How am I fit for one child but not my other 2? Not one time have you guys told me what I have to do to be part of my kids' lives again. Not one time. And that's all I want. I want to know what I have to do to be a dad again. That's it. I just want to be a dad. I want to take my son fishing. I want to take him hunting, and I want to do the things that I deserve and that they deserve as me being their father. And I've done everything you guys have asked me since day one, and I still keep getting rammed. And all I want to do is be heard. I want to be heard that my kids are screaming out to be part of my life. And Michaela can get with random dudes, whoever she wants. I have no criminal history, and the guy that she's with now is freaking older than I am, 6 or 7 years older than me, and he has 40 felonies, and I'm supposed to just be okay that he's around my kids? He's not even supposed to be around his kid, and he's using my kid's mom to be part of his kid's life, so the courts don't know that he's around his children. He has violent crimes. He has credit card fraud, drugs and distribution on methamphetamines. And he's around my kids every single day, sleeping in the same house with my son and my daughter. And I can't be around my kids. And the only misdemeanor I have is almost 10 years ago for drinking and driving. That's the only thing I've ever been in trouble for in my entire life. And I'm 33 years old, and I have to beg to be part of my children's lives. I can't keep a job because I get fired because you guys are taking so much. They're like, nobody can live on this. And my last boss fired me because he seen what was being done to me. And he said that it wasn't fair that I had to come to work for $100 a week and bust my butt in the freezing cold. And then so they let me go so I could claim unemployment. And as soon as I get unemployment and I get on it, you guys raise the amount that you're taking and start taking every dollar of the unemployment for 2 weeks and give me $100 to live on. All because I lost my job due to the circumstances of the stuff going on. I'm trying to be a dad, but I am only human. And I won't keep rambling because I've already said what I said. But what's being done to me is wrong. I love my children with everything that I am. I've spent my entire life to try to build a good life for them. And right now I'm being kicked down every chance that I try to get up.
All right. So you're raising a lot of issues. Number one, what you got to understand is the issues regarding custody are completely different and separate from the issues regarding support.
I understand that.
We have had many different hearings regarding custody. You had a hearing in front of me. I issued a written opinion that was very detailed, explained all my rationale for that. That was in writing. You may not have agreed with it, but it is what it is. And to the extent that you disagree with that ruling or the current custody situation, then you've got to file motions. I know you filed a motion last September. I went through the court file and saw that. And that had a hearing before the referee in October. And so
I was instructed by the federal government to cancel it. They wanted to see how you were going to rule on the order.
I have no idea about the federal.
Well, I know that if you guys call the FBI and ask them if you're under investigation, they will tell you that you are under investigation. I'm being honest with you. I canceled that date because I was instructed by the federal government.
I don't care about the FBI or anything else. Anybody can investigate me that wants to. Everything I do is here in public on the record. So if the FBI wants to investigate me, that's fine. I have no idea about that. And I have no idea why anyone would tell you not to go forward with the custody hearing. So the fact is that whether you agree with the court's prior rulings or not on custody, you have every right to file motions and to have hearings, and you've always had the ability to do that, and you have done that. And to the extent you haven't followed through on it, or if you disagreed with it, appealed it, then that's on you. But to argue that somehow the court's making all these decisions without any input from you, or you haven't had any rights in this, is just absolutely wrong, and it's incorrect. You had every opportunity to do that. And custody is a completely separate thing. And because the custody rulings haven't gone your way, doesn't give you the right to say, well, I'm just not going to pay support.
That's not what
I don't think that Ms. Bergman's been found guilty of 37 different parenting time violations and nothing's been done to her. But none of that gives you the ability to say, well, I'm just going to not pay any support to my children. The law doesn't give you the ability to do that. You can't just unilaterally decide what you're going to follow and what you're not going to follow. And based on everything that you're telling me here today, You could have been making some payments towards support over the past year. Since November of 24, you made some payments. The law only allows the friend of the court to take certain amounts as part of wage assignments. And so it's not like the friend of the court can just decide we're going to take all of your money. They can only take up to a certain amount, and that's all based on statute. It's all based on calculations and your reported income. So if more money's being taken out than should be, then it's up to you to come to the friend of the court and say, I'm not making that much money, to report your income, to engage in communication. And that leads to another problem, which is your communications with the friend of the court are much like they are today, where you want to go into issues that aren't relevant to what the problem is. And you want to, air all your grievances about the system. You don't want to listen to what people are telling you. You don't want to do what they're saying you need to do to help yourself. You want to do what you want to do. And what results from that is these just really difficult conversations with you and harassment basically from you towards staff, where they get to the point where they have to go to one of us judges and say, we can't deal with Mr. Hassel anymore. He won't deal with us on a reasonable, rational level where we can sit down and explain to him, and he's not listening to us. And I've had you in court before. I've watched you testify. I know that's the way you are. And so when you behave that way, it puts everybody else in a position where we've got to put up rules about how you can communicate, because it ends up devolving into something that's not productive to you or to the friend of the court, and certainly not helpful to your case. And so you add that in, and that complicates everything else about how we can deal with this. So, and the fact is, Ms. Krause, how much are the arrears? 33,000?
$33,302.56.
Yeah, so it's not like this is a new recent problem. You have not. I mean, $33,000 in arrears.
Your Honor, when I got arrested, they told me my arrearages were $21,000 just now on a body cam. The officer said my arrearages were $21,000 and my amount to get out was $5,900. So how is it that you guys have two different numbers? The police officer on a body cam told me exactly multiple times. He said you're $21,000 in arrearages on the reason you're being arrested. I know everything, and I tell you right now, I have.
The police officer doesn't work for the court, and the police officer isn't in the front of the court and doesn't have access to those records.
He called you guys.
I have no idea what a police officer might or might not tell you. What I can tell you is Ms. Krause has the records in front of her. And so for you to say that you've done everything that you were supposed to do all the time is just not correct either, because you're $33,000 in arrears of
3 years
child support that you should have been paying to help your children that you didn't. So
when do I get to see my kids though? You guys are alienating me from my kid's life, whether you believe it or not.
You've had custody. You've had custody hearings, and I've made written opinions that explain the rationale to you, so you don't have to ask that question. You can go back and read my opinion.
One time, Your Honor, gave me a reunification plan. The federal government pointed out that not one time in this entire case have I ever been offered a reunification plan. I didn't even
file an appeal. File a motion, file something saying that we haven't done it correct. No, you haven't.
I filed multiple, and you guys always rule against me because it's all about money. That's all you guys care about is money. That's it. You don't care.
I'm not gonna argue with you, but the point is why we're here today
is money.
Again, your
all
failure
that you guys
to pay.
Care about, and right now it's illegal. I'm telling you that I know you guys are stepping on your own state laws. I know that you're violating federal laws. I can tell you right now.
Then I invite you to start filing some paperwork with that regard instead of just telling me about it on the record.
I already have. I've been instructed to let them finish up what they have to do. I can tell you, you guys can call and ask if you're being investigated. You are 100% being investigated.
I don't care. If I'm being investigated, they'll come to me and let me know about it, and nobody has. So
they know
frankly, I don't believe you.
You don't believe me because I didn't take it to the state, but actually I did take it to the state, and they sent it to the federal government because they realized you think that. Right. I know why you think It's because
So-
you haven't seen a state case of the Attorney General, but we were informed that the Attorney General is crooked. And I know that you used to work for the Attorney General in Lansing, which is a conflict of interest. And they're aware of all of the things that you used to be before you're in this position, which means that they cover and they protect you. You think you're immune and you're not.
I don't think I'm immune, and I invite any investigation into me or anything I've ever done. I absolutely invite that because it's
I
all
know
in the
that
open.
you haven't been here since day
See
one,
what's up.
but you have had every chance to do right by me and my children, and you've chose not to.
Okay, so again, why we're here today, you indicated earlier, you're aware that there's this support order that requires you to pay support, right?
Well, I don't agree with the order because you guys created it, and nowhere can you
I'm
talk.
not asking you whether you agree with it. I'm asking you whether you're aware of it.
I am not aware of the order up to date. No, I don't know what the current order is. Because I was silenced. I tried to call and address the issue, and you guys told me, don't call or talk again. So I did what I was instructed. I went to the next level with the only thing you can do when you're silenced is go to the people above you. And now
You're aware that you're
handle it.
required to pay support under an order, is that correct?
If you're saying that, I don't have to agree. My lawyer will handle those issues.
Okay. And you have failed to pay support over the period of time that you've been required to pay, is that correct?
No, that's not correct. I actually had lots of money taken from my paychecks, and I have every pay stub to prove every dollar you guys took from me this year. And I also have every paper.
You haven't paid the amount as ordered, is that correct?
Extortion is extortion, Your Honor.
Okay. I'll take that as a yes. You haven't paid as ordered.
Yes, I am not saying that I agree with it. Not at all.
Okay.
My lawyer will. I'm not answering anything that you're trying to trick me into. My lawyer instructed me to stay.
I'm not trying to trick you into anything. I'm just asking you what you have or haven't done. That's all. That should be easy.
I have made money on the record. I have had multiple paychecks garnished. They've garnished my my 401k. They garnished my paycheck for over 3 months this year. Or last year. We're in a new year now, but last year I had probably over $4,000 or $5,000 taken from me. And what's ironic is my baby mama has 3 baby daddies, and they're all in your guys' county. And we've sat paper by paper, and we can't figure out how I pay $890, and her other baby daddy who never sees his kid pays $50, and I take care of my kid 3 weeks out of the month. And then her other baby daddy only has to pay $125 a week. We're blown away. She can't even figure it out. She tried to tell you, why is it that one baby daddy pays $8? Because your guys' formulas are made up. Michaela made you think, and her lawyer, that I'm rich. And I'm actually poverty. I'm very poor. I was on assistance the entire time. Food stamps and Medicaid the entire time you guys have been pulling what you're doing. Up until a few months ago.
Based on your statements here today, and this is an expansion of our earlier record, the court finds that you were aware that you were required to pay child support as ordered, that you failed to make payments out of available resources. As you indicated, you have been working during this period of time.
I have not been working.
I further find that based on your statements that, again, that you're aware of the obligation, but because you felt that due to the court's adverse rulings as to custody and your perceived violations of orders by Ms. Bergman, that you didn't have to make those payments, or that
I never said I didn't have to make them. I don't have the money to pay. I lost. I never said I don't think that I don't have to pay to take care of my
based on this,
do not put that in my mouth. I never said that I don't think I have to take care of my children. I had my children for 50-50 for their entire childhood. If I didn't care about them, I wouldn't have raised them for 5 years.
So are you saying that you were aware that you had the child support obligation as ordered by the court?
Yes, but I am letting you know that I cannot afford to pay it. I tried to tell you guys that I'm not making that kind of money. My paychecks show that you're leaving me $100 a week to live with. That's illegal.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Hassel, have you ever filed since November of 2024? Have you filed anything to have your child support modified?
I tried to contact you guys, and all that they ever.
It's a simple yes or no question. Have you done that?
Yes, I have filed motions. And as a matter of fact,
Mr. Krause, is there anything in the record indicating that Mr. Hassel has filed any motions since this bench warrant was issued to modify his child support?
Outside of the one that was previously indicated from August 28th in front of the referee, that's the only information I have.
Okay. All right, so the court finds that either Mr. Hassel, you failed to pay out of available resources, or you failed to exercise due diligence. And so, again, on this expanded record, the court continues to find that you are in contempt for failing to pay. So the court will continue its previous order. And so, Ms. Krause, if you can forward that to me. Mr. Hassel, is there anything further you wanted to say for the record today?
I'm just curious what the whole point of this court date was, to torment me mentally or what?
No, the whole purpose is to try and get you to pay the child support that you're required to pay.
Well, I don't have $8,000, and that's funny that my paper bond that the officer showed me said my bond was $5,900, which is a prime example of how your guys' county handles business.
Well, it was back in November when that
No,
was
that's
issued.
today when I got arrested.
Yeah, that was the amount that was the amount as of November 2024. A lot of time's gone by, and you continue to accrue child support payments since then that haven't been paid. So of course the amount's going to be higher now than it was in November.
The amount changed $12,000 since this morning.
The amount changed from what it was in November to what it is now in November of 24. Yeah.
When do me and my kids matter to you, Your Honor? Can you tell me one time put me in
all
my
the time? They matter all the time. All you need to do is file a motion, as you have done in the past. You're fully aware of the process. So.
And it's all part of your guys' silver bullet game.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all for this hearing today.